All right, I'm here with Don Schminke, who's one of the keynote speakers for our Business Evolution Conference in 2015, being held in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on October 1st and 2nd. Don, thank you so much for some of your time, giving me some of your time today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So I understand you're talking about something violent and abusive. I'm very much excited about it. It involves swords and samurai. How is that involved in a conference about business evolution?
I was wondering that myself when I first found the manuscript. Oxford gave me permission to use it, but apparently the samurai ran some very effective organization structures that really had nothing to do with their battle strategies that they're so famous for. And as I began looking at it, I began to realize that they were heavily involved in personal development and in organizational leadership. And that's what I wrote about back in the 90s. And since then, it's gotten a lot of press, and we've been continuing and evolving that research ever since.
It's funny, I don't think about samurai as personal development or business leaders. I think of them as cutting people up with swords. How is it? What's the model here? What's sort of samurai as a model for business?
Well, a lot of it had to do with honor and integrity and bravery, and how you made decisions and how you led people and accountability. A lot of the things that we like to see in teams today, although a lot of management and training programs don't really focus that much on bravery and honor, that I felt was a good addition that the samurai offered us.
Absolutely. And actually, you're saying that you've worked with some quite amazing businesses and some quite amazing teams. What are some of the clients you've had over time who've actually adopted these practices that we might know of?
Well, early on, we worked with a number of large companies like DuPont. Currently, Apple Computer has brought a lot of samurai work in through one of our institute colleagues. His name is Cameron Lugman, who I think will be speaking also with you guys at some point. So we've been having some fun there. We're also working with a lot of companies that are in the middle market range and watching growth patterns from 2 to 10 times revenues within a few short years.
Really? Okay, so highly effective. And I understand one of the big issues here is sort of the issue of purpose. This is something that's very central to our conference, the issue of purpose, especially interesting for millennials. You have something called the Compelling Saga that has some relevance there. Could you explain a little bit about what you're going to talk about there?
Yeah, what we discovered, actually, this is one of the expeditions we did in the Himalayas, is found that even though we tend to talk about mission statements and visions and purpose statements, a few of them seem to trigger the human genetics for suffering and sacrifice, which seems to be important when companies want to grow rapidly. I think we're too focused on motivation, making sure everybody feels happy, and not enough to trigger that essence. And we chose a Compelling Saga because we had to categorize it. We felt the Nordic tribes have made a lot of progress in that area. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference of sagas as a unique form of purpose that inspires something greater than our normal motivational, touchy-feely statements that we tend to focus on.
Okay, cool. And lastly, there's something that also sounds dramatic and violent, killing the ego as a leadership model. What's that about?
Well, the samurai got a lot of press for their physical suicide practices, and you see that in a lot of the films, and are very focused on that one film called The Last Samurai, the more recent one. However, we did find out it was more about killing the ego and what they call the evil spirit. When we look at bravery and honor and executive decision speed, we find that that technique is more effective than anything we've ever found. When we're able to commit suicide to the ego's agenda, we've now been able to support that with a lot of neurological research, a lot of modern science to see how it works and why it's so effective. But again, it's one of those things we rarely see in normal training and development programs. So we've been researching that and implementing that for the past 15 years. And I'm very surprised at the results.
All right, and that's actually a good question. I'm a very results-oriented kind of a guy. I'm not great at sitting down in a seat. If I planted myself in a seat in front of you for 45 minutes and listened to your keynote, what would I hope to take away? What would I hope to get as a result from that?
Probably the unhooking of some common management practices being replaced by some validated scientific and ancient techniques for driving strategic growth in a company.
All right, terrific. Thank you so much for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing you live in action at the conference in October.
Look forward to seeing you guys too. So I can't wait to give you the full context, what we're talking about here.
The full Don. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks a lot.